Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Nguyen, and the Insider crew.
Welcome everyone to episode 88. We are back at PCA's national headquarters. I apologize to you guys for not being here last week, but you kept the ship sailing in the right direction. And I was at SEMA, which we'll talk about in a bit. But I have some great news for those of you that are PCA Insider fans. You've asked, and we now have, take a look here, official PCA Insider decals. They're about 2x2 outside decals. And I'm going to say, if you would like a set of these, just comment in the sections below or drop us an email. The first, let's say, 50 people that want some of these. And also, I think all three of us.
I think they cover up the Apple logo. Well, I don't have an Apple. If I had an Apple, it would cover up the Apple logo.
But we're going to carry these with us at events. So if you catch any one of us at events and you would like one of these or a few of these insider decals, we will have them with us. It
does test my patience in pulling the backing off.
You know what? I did notice that because it doesn't have a split in the middle. But it's a very high quality decal. It's a very thick vinyl.
And it will just, by the third corner, you'll get it.
Well, here we are with Manny and Damon at the table. And, of course, thank you to Robert, who's at the controls. We're going to go through a couple of things today, catch up on what we've been doing for the last week or so. Of course, talk about SEMA, as I mentioned. I think we might even talk a little bit about we're in the season. You guys talked last week about oil changes and kind of like the season is changing here in Maryland. And I kind of took the opportunity to do some stuff to my cars. We've got some news, everything from the 963 to some winning teams, and then some. You put an article in there, Manny, that I didn't fully understand. It has to do with the Chinese market, and then we'll do an update on upcoming events.
Did you open the link up? Or
I did, but I read it, and I read it twice, and not to jump ahead, but I do have a question about it. So, anyways, rewind to past couple of days last week. You guys did a couple things.
Not me.
No,
I worked.
You worked. Are you still chasing down your AC compressor?
Not chasing it down anymore. It should be pretty straightforward at this point. But I'll share a little bit of how it went up until now. So if you've been listening in, I've basically bought all the vacuum pumps and all the fluid and gas transfer equipment, and all the things you need in the tank to store the R134 or R134A, I guess. And so I hook everything up. I put the vacuum on the tank. Then I close up the tank, turn the vacuum off. I hook up the machine that's supposed to pull the fluid out. And I turn it on, and there's a little knob, one knob, not two. So there's not like a left side port knob, to open and close that, and then one for the right side. Usually it's like red and blue. It was one knob to do it all, and it was slightly cheaper than the machine that the video I watched where that person used. So I'm using a cheaper product. I hook everything up, I turn it on, and I pull the vacuum for an hour or so, to make sure that everything's all good and the fluid is out, or the R134A. And I go into the back of the car to start loosening up the hard line for the AC. And I hear this just hissing noise.
Oh, no.
So I'm like, oh, gosh. And I had, just in case, one of those ventilator masks with the filters and everything. And so I hear the hissing, and I try and close it back up. Wouldn't do anything.
Oh, no.
So I just loosened it all up. Poof.
Oh.
And the EPA is probably going to come after me or something. Yeah, so hopefully the EPA wasn't watching. I apologize. I tried my best. But basically, that part didn't go as well as I had hoped. But at least from now, it should be smooth sailing. Basically, I need to get the two hard lines off the AC compressor, but one of them is just really buried. So I need a smaller hex bit, and to fit onto my quarter drive instead of the, the 3/8 drive?
Yeah.
Is the other one? Yeah. So that's where I am. But I shipped the little hex bit to Salinas, which is where the last place I shipped something for work. I think probably for Rensport. I never updated my address.
Oops.
So nothing happened last weekend. But you'll hear about it when I fix it.
Very good. How about you, Manny?
Well, let's see. Was it Monday? No, I think Tuesday. We did filming for One Mile Review.
Okay.
We had talked about on the last podcast that we were going to go after the podcast, so I got to drive.
Something that looked minty fresh.
Yes, the mint green 964 RS Club Sport. That was one off my bucket list. I'd never gotten to drive that. But a Club Sport is basically an RS with a stripped out interior and a cage.
Wow.
It's definitely a track car.
You could basically take it racing with a few mods.
It's a few mods, maybe an
Yeah.
extra bar.
Yeah.
And that car's got to be super exclusive with the color that it is.
I think, what did he say, 4 or 5, Damon?
I didn't hear that, but I remember seeing RSs back then came in some. I mean, mint green. I know I've seen now. I've definitely
I
seen
thought
one.
Bob said was 4 or 5.
Yeah.
That
Club
was built.
Sports, yeah, probably a lot less.
Beautiful car.
But it's definitely not a street car. I
Yeah.
mean, I said that in the video. I said, first thing that scares me is driving a car on the street in a cage without a helmet.
Right.
Because your head hits any of those bars, and none
You're
of them
done.
had any kind of padding. Even if they did, it's still
So-
it isn't designed to be driven without a helmet.
So aside from worrying about your head hitting the bar, I mean, you have a 1990 964. Like, how different is the drive?
It's a setup for the track. It's more like what my race car used to be.
Okay.
Probably a little bit quieter because the race car used to run straight exhaust,
Mm-hmm.
and the spring rate was a little bit softer than my race car, but not a whole lot.
Really?
It's you were bouncing around a lot
Because it looks, I mean, it doesn't look that aggressive from the outside. It looks like a kind of a slightly
It'd
modified
be a great
street
car to take to Cars and Coffee.
Yeah.
I gave it like poor ratings for daily driving and road trip,
Yeah.
which no surprise.
Right.
But for car show and fun factor, very high.
Now, how does it pull and power, and how does it track compared to your street
It's
car?
less than 20 horsepower different than a regular.
So not a huge
No,
difference in
not like
power.
maybe it's 15 or 16 horsepower more than a
Yeah.
regular one, and it's more the lightweightness,
Yeah.
the way the suspension is set up, it's sorted out. It's a
And
Definitely
any
fun
idea
car.
on the value of a car like that nowadays?
300 maybe.
I don't
250.
remember Bob saying what this owner paid for. I don't think Bob would want us to.
Right. Just
But-
just a general.
yeah,
market
general.
I
value.
think they've sold for around 300,
300.
Yeah.
290, 280.
about
something
right.
like that.
And we should say
So
this
that's like almost 3 times as much as a standard 964.
Yeah, and the thing is, like the RSs that we've driven, they were more made for the street,
Mm-hmm.
had full interior.
we should say this was built as a street car, but just wasn't sold in the U.S. Right?
In some countries, it was allowed to be a street car. I don't think everywhere except the U.S. it was.
Yeah,
I think there
okay.
was other places. Like I said, the cage is what would scare me.
Yeah.
If you're comparing Club Sport like 968 compared to this,
No
huge
comparison,
difference,
yeah.
right? Because
Oh, yeah, I see what
968
you're saying.
had the carpeting still. It was
Right.
like a Carrera T of the
Right,
968.
yeah. Right,
almost,
right.
This was in fact, when I got in, it felt like I was in church because you could hear an echo.
Oh, really?
Because there was nothing. At least in my race car, I had to run carpeting for my class, so I got carpeting. I was joking. You could put it up to the light and see right through the carpeting. That wasn't the case with this car. This car is completely. There was never carpeting put in the car.
And you weren't wearing a helmet to muffle some of the noise either.
No.
Yeah.
It wasn't too loud, like I said, because I'm sure it was running at least one muffler in it.
Oh, okay.
Probably not both, but one. So it was a very livable exhaust. Just it's a pure race car.
So last weekend was pretty much like for most of the facilities and events and car shows and stuff like that. Last weekend was kind of like the last one, right? Because we're going into November and it's getting colder. It's 30 degrees in the morning and stuff like that. A lot of stuff going on, including you went up to a brand new facility that GT Performance just moved into.
That's the shop I exclusively use. I've been using for 20 years, and they finally got their own place, and they've been working at it for 2 years, getting all
I
the
saw
zoning
photos of-
permits. Yeah, it's very impressive. So we had a huge turnout, almost 80 people, I think, from Chesapeake region, and used the opportunity to drop off my 964 because, unlike Damon, I cannot handle having any of my cars not running. If one thing's wrong, regardless of the fact that I won't use this car like Damon does, because Damon is not its primary form of transportation.
Damon is very patient.
I have no patience. I have to have everything running just in case. So
I will say it's I hate not having at least 2 cars running. Like, it's killing me, and it's this depression cycle, right? So you get depressed, and then you don't want to work on your car, and then
I started thinking, why is it broken? What can I do?
Yeah.
Anyways, after I changed the oil, I went to go to Cars and Coffee last weekend, and it was running really rough. Like, it was running on 5 cylinders, and I couldn't figure out why. And I got it back and looked all around. I'm like, why is it?
What did you touch? What did you do?
I said, just change the oil, and I looked at my the distributor belt to make sure the belt didn't snap, and I was only running on one bank, well, not one bank, but 6 of the plugs, and that wasn't a problem. So, and those spark plugs aren't the easiest things to get a hold of. So I said, you know what, I don't have the time. There's a lot of stuff I got to do at work for PCA, and we're getting ready for Unstock and blah blah blah. So I said, you know what, I'm going to use this perfect opportunity. I'll drop it off, and Chuck, who lives in Hartford County, I asked him for a ride back home. And Gennady, who's such an honest guy, he calls me up like on Monday, and he says, your car's fixed. I'm like, well, what was it? Because the whole time I'm thinking in my head, car does have 168,000 miles.
Engine rebuild time.
Exactly. I'm thinking of something break. I couldn't hear any noise, but who knows? And he called me up. He said, it was a loose wire on the fuel injector came off.
Oh, so wow. You must have moved it.
I put so many rags in there to try to capture the oil from the filter.
Oh,
because I didn't want to spill any. Then I'm sure when I shoved the rags in there trying to capture any loose oil, that it probably I didn't realize, because that engine compartment is so tight.
Right.
That I hit a wire, and I didn't notice it when I was looking around to see what could be the problem. So that was good news.
Good news. No engine rebuild.
But the tech session was a lot of fun. They did a tech session on alignment. So they actually did an alignment on Greg Hartke's car, his Cayman 981, and a lot of people, I think, actually got to see this in live for the first time, and had a lot of questions about trying to understand what camber is, stuff that we may take for granted. They had some good questions trying to understand why you want negative camber, why you want some toe in, and so forth. It was.
So I noticed it's looks like it's a fairly new Hunter machine.
Yeah.
And for those of you that haven't done an alignment recently, or haven't gone to a shop with a newer alignment system, so the older sensors that used to go on the alignment racks had almost like claws that you would have to like sort of wedge in between the rim and the tire. And if you're careful, or you have little plastic pieces, you could wedge them in there without scratching the wheel. But more often than not, a lot of those shops, those little plastic pieces get lost, and they just force them into the rim, and you just get all these marks. With the newer systems, these sensors that go on your wheels, the sensor sits flat onto your wheel face, and then the clamps actually clamp onto the tire, so you don't have those claws anymore going into the rim, in between the rim and the tire, which is really cool. And I don't know the technical way of how it knows what center is, but they clamp it on, they roll it back and forth for a little bit, and then it figures out where center is. It's pretty awesome.
It figures out the ride height.
Yep.
But what's cool was Igor Gennady's son was doing the alignment. He was showing why it takes so long sometimes is because you adjust one side, it'll affect the other side.
Yeah, for sure.
And it doesn't, like, okay, I've got the camber set, now I can move on to the toe. Now, when you adjust the toe, it's going to affect the camber, so it's a constant back and forth of getting everything to be synchronized. But it was a very
and having someone that knows how to do an alignment on a Porsche, especially if you go for a more aggressive alignment, it makes all the difference in the world. And I think I've told this story before. So my dad, who's quite thrifty, and he has a 986 Boxster, and he got his alignment done at whatever tire place, and I had the folks Tom Chan and Mike Levis do the alignment on Loan's 986, and the cars are pretty similar, but they drive very different. It's amazing how an alignment can change the characteristics of a car, because if you have more toe in and it's less darty, if you have it toe out, then it is darty, and then camber settings and caster settings and all that kind of stuff. Like if you have someone that really knows how, and the folks at TPC, obviously they race and such like that. I didn't realize like a proper alignment could do such amazing things for a car.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
And what we learned with Project 964 was if you haven't had the alignment done for a while and you have an older car, they may have to bring the torch out.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I think on Greg's car they had to do one. They couldn't get one nut off, so I heard him saying once everyone leaves,
Yeah.
we'll
We got
probably
that in the
get torch
video,
out
not
to,
the whole thing, but
yeah.
he stood there for a while.
Yeah,
It's
he
those tie rods.
Oh, to pop the tie
really
rods,
bad.
I remember thinking, and this is why I didn't want to try this back at the office with
Yeah.
the strings,
Right.
because doing the alignment is not too hard
Oh.
with the string method, but if you run into bolts that don't loosen, and
PCA's headquarters, our garage, is the worst garage to work in and out of because we don't have any tools here.
Yeah.
that's pretty kit critical.
Yeah, it's like the one tool you need is at home, and that just frustrates the heck out of me. Like I'd rather just work at home.
Yeah.
But you're right though. Sometimes the easiest jobs can be a nightmare just because of one bad bolt or one strip bolt or.
Yeah. With alignment, string alignment, what I find takes the longest, it's not even really setting up the string. Once you've, gotten your PVC pipe, and if that's what you're using, not like an actual thing, and cut the slots, you have your fishing line. Setting all that up might take 5 minutes or so. And then you raise the car, and of course you have to move all the stuff, but it's the fact that you raise it the first time, make your adjustment. You're probably going to be doing it another 5-6 times.
Right,
and
right.
It's going to take the whole day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, It's not,
Which is why, if you want to do string alignments, if you want to do it yourself, for whatever reason, if you have the means to buy those specialty, what do they call them? They're
was it smart
alignment or something
like that. Yeah,
But they get they just hang over the bumper.
Right.
yeah,
over
they're
the
like
hatch.
aluminum.
Right.
Yeah. So
square.
that's the sort of thing where you don't have to move your jack stands and PVC pipes and then raise the car up and then put it back down and then realign everything. You just keep it on the car.
Yeah.
So that's a little secret. If you don't want to be spending time and you have the money, get one of those smart strings. That's what
Smart
they're called.
Yeah,
Smart
only time
strings.
we used it was at the track, and that was
Yeah.
a handful of times when we had to do suspension work that meant we took things out of alignment. So then we had to rush and find somebody that had smart strings and borrow it just to get a rough, to make sure that the car would handle somewhat well in the race, but nothing that was permanent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm all about going and finding someone with a good hunter machine. Because not only the strings, but then you have to have like the plates underneath the wheels so that they don't bind, right? Like if you raise your car at home and then you set it down, the wheels can't slip in and out.
Yeah.
So then
you got to roll it back and forth,
you
and that's
gotta
not
roll
good
it
enough,
back and
really.
forth. Oh, forget about it. Let's
That's
just-
what I do, and it works, but it's
No,
tedious.
you're much more patient than
tedious.
I. You also went on a tour.
Yes, our club's last tour. At least we have a small one in December for a toy drive, but this was the last big one. And weather was absolutely gorgeous. I think we had 50-some, maybe 60 cars, 4 groups. And we went to go see all the different colors as the leaves are changing in Western Maryland. It was a blast.
Yeah.
We
It's one of the
had
things.
a 3-hour tour.
One of the many things I think, being a member of PCA and in your region is, our volunteers know how to run tours and run them properly. And I say that because there's a lot of smaller groups out there that just kind of go out and kind of hammer it and hope for the best. And what I love about PCA is they have this secret sauce to running fun but safe. For all driving skills, you're out there representing the club, and you can't be doing crazy stuff. Because I saw a video, I think it was on the Tail of the Dragon, where somebody was. Did you send it to me, or I saw it somewhere, where someone was following a car, and it was I think it was following like a Turbo S or something like that, and the Turbo S was going into a corner at a pretty good clip, and put 2 wheels on leaves. And that was
I think
all.
I saw that too.
And that was all. I mean, that car went right into the hills, and I was like,
Yeah.
and our club members, and of course you can't avoid everything, but I know a lot of our club leads and tours, they run the route before the event. They run it maybe sometimes multiple times. They You know, they have a lead, they have a mid car, they have a sweep, they have radios, and all of that is, you know, sometimes people think it's too constricting, you know, in having fun, but it's all to get everybody from one point A to point B safely, have fun, enjoy yourself, and just a little
That's
plug
probably because you
PCA.
probably don't hear about, you know, every time it happens, but tours can be dangerous if they're not organized well.
Oh, absolutely.
And you don't hear about the horror stories all that much. But yeah, PCA's got your back when it comes to that.
Yep. So as I said, it's kind of changing seasons, and you guys talked about how you did your oil change, and Manny, I did the same as well. Did a number of oil changes, but also got me to remember we did a great video. I don't know if Robert can find about things you can do for winterizing your car, because now as temperatures drops, especially here in Maryland, like I have summer tires on a lot of my cars, and as the temperature drops, you know, you want to move over to an all season or a winter tire. I did oil. I filled up my my windshield washer fluid. I checked the wiper blades. I looked at the filters. I got all the leaves out of everything. Whew, it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work, but it's just stuff like, you know, it's kind of a nice time to do it because it wasn't too hot outside, but just to go through. Also important is to check the pressure of your tires, because for every 10 degrees, your tire drops 1 degree. So if it goes from 40 to 30 or 50 to 40, you're going to lose a pound. And most cars do have, you know, tire pressure monitors, but it's a good time to check all that right now.
Yeah.
Be ready for the winter.
And if it's not a Porsche, your tire pressure monitors aren't measuring individual wheels and tires. They're measuring the rotational difference between each wheel. So if all of your tires, you know, lose PSI because of temperature, it's not going to show up. So go and check those.
And if you're not sure what your settings should be for your tire pressures, where do you go?
Door jam
Usually.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Or, of course, you can always go to your owner's manual.
Yep.
All right, so let's get into Viva Las Vegas. That's where I was at for SEMA, the Specialty Equipment Manufacturers Association. If you're not familiar with that event, it's one of the largest conventions out there in Las Vegas. Takes the full convention center and spills out into the parking area. But basically, it's anybody and everybody that has aftermarket or tools for the automotive industry, they are there. Last year, this is, I think, was our 13th time going to SEMA, and it's great for PCA to head out there and to meet with a lot of our sponsors and advertisers, and of course look at new tech that might be out. Last year we noticed there's a huge void left by a lot of larger manufacturers that didn't come out. I mean, after COVID, some of them just never came back. I'm happy to report that this time there were some larger. There was Toyota, there was Hankook, Toyo obviously is always there, but there was also a lot more small to medium-sized companies. And so it was very fruitful for PCA to kind of visit and meet with everybody. It was cool to see how many people knew about PCA. And also, as we were looking at all the modified, typically in all of these booths, there's some sort of modified vehicle. And this year it was a nice, there wasn't one dominant car. Like one year we went, it was like the Supra was the thing. And then one year we went, the Bronco was the thing. This time it was like a nice selection of all cars, but of course we gravitated to all the Porsches, and people knew about Unstock, and they're
Nice.
like, yeah, they're like, you know, it's a thing now, right? And Ilko and I have invited a number of cars, and this was the whole idea of Unstock, is to get these modified cars to have a place to go to after SEMA. So hopefully we will see them by the time you listen to this. It would have been Sunday at HRE Wheels in Vista, California, and we're looking forward to seeing these cars out there. So Robert, I don't know if you can bring up some of the cool cars that were there. So this car was really neat. It had 15-inch super wide wheels with a wide body kit, and you see the vintage kind of P7 wheels. This actually had a huge brake upgrade to it. It was Terox brakes. Huge brake upgrade to it, but fits underneath a 15-inch wheel. And,
What's the story with how dusty it is?
that that's the thing is you just get people's attention with bringing different things. This car was driven and just left dirty and just looked sinister, and it was it's funny how many the younger folks, as I was looking at the car, walked up to him. They're like, this is just perfect, just driven.
So if you're watching on YouTube and you're seeing the picture that's up right now, if you look at it and you don't have your glasses on,
Yeah.
like me right now, it almost looks like, man, what did they do with that paint? That looks like a cool new design. And then I'm like, wait, no, that's dust,
That's
isn't
just
it?
dust. That's
Oh
just
gosh.
dust.
So is the
So-
next thing going to be like?
Yeah, I mean,
Fake
this
dust
thing,
for your
again, if you're
car.
not watching on YouTube, this thing is flared out. It's black on black, 15-inch, sort of like gaudy looking wheels.
917 5-spoke style,
yeah,
it looks like.
exactly, and a special front end on it. It just looks mean, and it was very cool. Next, Robert, we've got this car that was on the Toyo Tread Pass, which connects the two convention center buildings. This vehicle was just a custom build car. Obviously, it was inspired by a 356, but that is some sort of, I don't even know if that's carbon fiber, but it's some sort of carbon material that's been laid and epoxied and shaped into what looks similar to a 356, but it actually had a Honda K motor, mid-mounted like a Boxster, completely custom car. And of course, people at SEMA go crazy over stuff like this. It's a crazy build, nothing Porsche really about it, but it
Did
just
it start out as a Porsche at all?
No, I
No,
think
it
it's a
didn't.
custom chassis car, custom body car. The wheelbase is different. Yeah.
It's interesting. If you're watching on YouTube, and or if you're not, and you're familiar with how a 356 fender sort of front fender curves, in the front left, kind of level with the headlight, and in front of the front wheel, there's a seam, and I
Yeah.
wonder. To me, that says that this was left bare to show the technology.
Oh, yeah,
But that was
for
probably
sure.
folded under to get the curve, and then
Yep.
it'll be painted
Yep, exactly.
at some point. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, it looks really nice. Looks
Yeah,
cool.
Very cool, very custom. We saw a number of aftermarket exhaust systems for 992s, 991s, titanium, aluminum. This little setup here, obviously you can see how much lighter. I mean, there's just less material. I think that the top exhaust was like, I want to say 20 pounds or 30 pounds lighter than the factory exhaust, and it still has valves and everything, so you can run quiet or run it wide open. Some of these welds, pretty amazing stuff there. Again, just all bolt on. This car here, no, we typically see RWBs in 993, but this is the RWB kit on a 997. So of course you have the riveted flares, but it's not as wild and crazy as a 993 RWB. I thought it looked pretty tasteful. It's sort of like a if a 997 and a 993 GT2 had a kid, like this would be the car. And it's an attractive looking
From
car.
the profile view, it's actually kind of tough to see anything big that was done unless you notice the
flares,
bolts or the
the
rivets
rivets,
for
yeah.
the flares. But you also have to think, to me, air-cooled Porsches look, when you do an RWB to them, they look a lot different from how they did stock or
Yeah.
beforehand. I don't know. 997 sort of lend themselves to wide body a little bit more easily. I'm wondering if it's just the platform that makes it a little less.
And it might be this version of the RWB kit. I don't
Yeah.
because the 993s they have like the standard RWB, and then they have what's called the super wide, which is like almost
that yellow car at Sports Car Together
almost
Fest.
animated kind of how wide it is.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
so maybe this is just one version. I don't know if they make a super wide, but I thought it looked really good.
Yeah, same.
So here is, of course, a Carrera GT in what looks to be.
Is it Fiance or Faience yellow, or is it Speed yellow?
I think it's Signal yellow.
Let's see.
But the crazy thing there is that car is wrapped.
Oh wow,
That's a wrap.
that's nice.
And in the I think it's in the West Hall of SEMA, there's got to be a couple of dozen of companies that make PPF in color, paint protection film in color, and they have all different kind of wraps. And of course, every year you just see the technology in wraps just get better and better and better. And to see this car in person, now if you looked at some of the, the hiding edges and stuff like that, yes, you can tell it's a wrapped car. But from 2 feet away, I mean, it just looks like someone painted it. It's pretty amazing. And a lot of these wraps can accept a ceramic on top of it, so you can have it just as glossy as paint. And pretty amazing. That car was all wrapped. Anything else, Robert, that I got up there? Oh, do you have the carbon fiber car with the purple? I don't know if you have that. No, it's okay. So probably the car of the show for me was actually at the Vorsteiner booth, which is a subsidiary or partner to Gunther Works. So it was Vorsteiner's anniversary. They brought out the Gunther Works Speedster in open carbon fiber with purple accents, and this car was gorgeous. Beautiful, beautiful car. And it pretty much stole the show. I don't know if
I have it on my computer.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah, I can see the purple a little bit.
Sorry.
Wow.
You'll have to look it up. Just Google carbon. There it is. So he's got the video. So yeah, the exposed carbon, beautiful purple, wide body, the ducktail, everything.
It's a weird looking ducktail. Looks like a ducktail that's hiding an intercooler or something.
It's got, I don't know if, no, that car's normally aspirated. That's not the turbo
aspirator.
one.
Oh, just a different design.
Yep. And you can see all the beautiful carbon that's all laid out. So so that's SEMA, and there was also a car that we will see at Unstock, a baby blue, a Gulf blue or whatever, HRE Carrera GT was there. Oh, there it is.
Nice.
That was on display as well, and there was something that you might like, Manny. There was this. What's the buggy called? Myers-Manx?
Yeah.
Myers-Manx looking thing that Chip Foose built, inspired by a 356.
Oh, nice.
And it was basically taking a bunch of 356. So here we have a Cayenne and the Pink Pig livery with the Overlander package on it. But this Myers, I don't know if it's technically a Myers-Manx, but it was a buggy, and Chip Foose did some really cool modifications to it, utilizing all 356 parts, from the motors to the gauges to the seats. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So you did you uploaded a couple of videos. I know the Carrera T, which is a very cool car.
Yeah, Carrera T. One of our correspondents in Michigan, Robin Warner, had asked me, hey, do you want any content on a Carrera T? And we hadn't done one on or a 1 mile review on one yet. And yeah, he drove it. He gave a great review of the car. I will say, because for me it's hard not to notice, and I think somebody did notice, we are experimenting with new GoPro settings, and we got one setting slightly wrong, so sorry it's a little choppy, but yeah, we'll get that better next time. And hope you enjoyed the review. I will say, having driven a Carrera T recently in Germany on some back roads and at speed, it's such a good car. Like, you really, for me, that might be the car I get, unless I had unlimited money, but if I were thinking, do I want a Carrera GTS or an S or a T, and I'd probably go for the T.
So, Manny, do you think the T is like what the RS America was back in the day, in terms of like trying to be minimalistic and
sort of minimalistic?
Sort of
right?
minimalist.
Yeah.
I mean, a modern day car today, you can't go that minimalist.
It's not a GT3 RS
Right.
or GT3 when it comes to how much.
Because the RS America didn't have that many things different from
No.
When also, if equal, everybody got 4 options, which a lot of people got 4 options.
Yeah.
It was like 20 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
And that's fact. I mean, and I challenge anyone to prove me wrong, because there's so much misinformation about the RS America.
Yeah.
But when all was said and done, and you compared those 4 options, the added weight, it wasn't that much different than the C2.
Without those options, it wasn't more than 100 pounds. I don't think.
Not
it was
even
more.
that
It was
high.
more than
No,
20.
It was.
but
It was not. It was a marketing car.
Yeah.
yeah.
But it did offer was manual steering, It had the cloth seats. It offered
Fixed tail.
no back seat.
Backseat to the
Yeah, like Damon said, fixed tail, and turbo suspension. But the brakes were the same. The engine was the same. I mean, there was stuff that people were saying, "Oh, it had seam welds." What was happening back then was people were getting the Carrera RS confused with the RS America.
Oh, I see.
And they were taking everything from the Carrera RS and saying that's what we're getting,
Right.
And we weren't getting that. So, to answer your question, I think the T, T's the only entry point to get manual gearbox,
Right.
So, I would get a T over top of base model.
Yeah. I don't think any of us have driven a base Carrera yet, one of the new ones. But
No,
we've driven
I
the
haven't.
S and we've
Yeah.
driven some of the others.
But I would get rear-wheel steering.
Yeah.
That would be guarantee. If any option I got, it would be rear-wheel steering on that car.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm sold on rear-wheel steering. The ST doesn't have rear-wheel steering, crazy enough.
Yeah.
But the way I see it compared to the RS America, I think I would agree, because the RS America wasn't that much different. But I think from behind the wheel, it felt a lot more different than what it actually was. And that's what people liked about it. Manual steering, it really changes
The characteristic
the character
of the car.
of how you drive the car. Now, not having driven a base new Carrera, I don't have a comparison point with the T in that. But what I can say is that if the T has any of its performance upgrades or light weighting that it has, you're probably not going to notice that. You're just going to notice that Porsche, all the little things that Porsche's done, probably makes it drive differently compared to a base car. And it was so fast. It was
So the T is the last manual non-GT car. Is that true?
no, because the S still has a manual option.
The S still has a manual option.
Yeah,
Just the lowest entry point is the T.
yeah. But yeah, Porsche, for some reason, they didn't offer a manual for the base Carrera, but they did for the S, and they do for the GTS.
Okay.
And then they came out with the T.
I would love to see the production numbers of a base versus a T.
Yeah.
It's almost like, why even make the base? Because you can get the PDK on a T. It's an option, a
Okay.
no-cost option.
Yeah. Not only that, who do you know who drives a base 992 Carrera? I don't think I've ever seen one.
I mean,
I don't know if they sold
that would be my entry
Yeah.
point. Would be a base.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean,
And what's crazy is we say base, but it's an amazing car, right? Like
Porsche will
base
tell
is
us-
base is almost like a negative
I
connotation.
don't know how many
but-
dealers will. They want to maximize their profit, so you're probably going to be walking out the door at a substantially higher price. You're not going to be able to get a base with nothing on it.
Yeah.
I forget which car it was that Porsche sort of corrected me on once, but it's not a base Carrera. It's a Carrera with the 379 horsepower.
I know.
engine.
That's what
It's
that's
not
what
a-
I'm getting
it's not
at. There's,
base.
there's nothing base about a Carrera.
But yeah,
I guess we
Porsche would
just
agree with
say,
you on
yeah,
that.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
But
All right.
amazing car.
Before we get into the news, I want to do my part in reminding everyone, if you haven't signed up for the PCA newsletters, just head over to pca.org and check out e-brake news, Mart Fresh news, and performance news. And of course, as always, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I think we're getting close to 82,000 subscribers on YouTube. And, always comment and let us know what you feel about either this particular episode or if there's something else that you would like for us to cover. We certainly read each and every one of them and we take it to heart. And a clear example is people ask for decals or stickers, and here we are with them in front of us. So, news. Mr. 963, that's Manny, one of Manny's titles here in the office.
Well, to no surprise, Porsche did not do well at the last race in Bahrain with the 963. They just have not done as well in the WEC as they have in IMSA. IMSA, they were fighting to the title to the last race. They had a whole host of problems with the different cars, electrical. There was this bodywork problems they had with some of the customer cars. It was not a good happy ending for the season, except for the ladies driving the Iron Dames.
The Iron Dames,
The
yes.
farewell to the RSR They won a race, their first one, the first time a all women's team won in the WEC since its inception in 2012, I think. So that's pretty awesome. We've been covering the Iron Dames, and they've been doing well all year. So this wasn't a fluke. It was more of a question of when they were going to win because they were doing so well throughout the season. So it was great to see them finish on top at the last race of the season, and that was really the high point for Porsche because the 963s
aren't cutting it
right now. Aren't cutting it in WEC. Hopefully,
so
they
in your
make
little
some adjustments.
I was going to say, in your little crystal ball, what needs to happen for them to be more competitive?
I hate to say it because it's so un-Porsche-like, but I think they got to do better with balance of performance to even out with the hypercars. I mean, they're all in their hypercar class, but it's two different chassis they're running. The Ferrari's running basically almost what the 919 was, where everything's in-house.
Yeah.
We're running what is running IMSA and LMDH, so we're running a off-the-shelf hybrid system, and Multimatics making our chassis, so it's not all in-house from Porsche, where with Ferrari and some of the other makers, it is like Toyota, and it shows. I mean, they just dominate. It's very frustrating because you're used to seeing the Porsche brand always on top.
Yeah.
And they're just not cutting. And then when you throw in, the fact that you're struggling to keep up, and then you throw in the fact that you have issues, that makes it even worse.
Yeah,
it's,
right.
But I think, as far as next year, what did I see? Yes, right here. So 2 people tested with Jota in the 963. Do you guys know who it was?
No.
One was Robert Kubica, which you would think any Formula One driver who comes to sports cars probably not a bad thing. And then Valentino Rossi.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, he's going to drive.
He's the GOAT.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Valentino Rossi is what Hamilton or Schumacher is to MotoGP.
Yeah.
I don't think he did. Was he testing Porsche or was he testing LMP too?
So I saw. So Jota Porsche,
I think because they run an LMP2 car.
Okay.
I thought I read he was doing an LMP2
Oh, you're right.
car.
It was LMP2. And
Yeah.
then Kubica must have done the 963 test.
Yeah.
So never
If
mind.
you've never watched him, there's so many YouTube videos of him riding in MotoGP, and I wonder if when he gets into a vehicle, does it feel like slow motion to him? Because the things that he did or does on the track
Probably.
is simply amazing.
I've never ridden a motorcycle, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, it's a different kind of fast. It's almost like it's an insane fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's yeah.
So scratch that. Valentino Rossi is not with Porsche or testing with Porsche, but I believe I saw Kubica tested.
Hopefully, LMP2 is a jump to LMP. Not LMP1, but GTP, and that would be great to see. I'm sure they're putting him in LMP2 just to get him his feet wet. And
he tested for Formula One
Prototypes.
back in the day, so he was super close to Valentino Rossi to being an F1 driver, but didn't happen.
Was he with Schumacher? I'm trying to remember maybe not Schumacher. It was they traded one guy.
It was Hamilton.
Hamilton got
and
into the
Rossi.
motorcycle.
And the funny part is, who do you think was better driving the other person's vehicle?
I would say
Rossi in
yeah.
F1, because if you've never ridden a motorcycle, or maybe Hamilton, I'm sure has, but you can't go from a motorcycle to a car is probably
car is much easier than car to motorcycle. I can say that with full
going
confidence.
fast.
Yeah, going fast.
Yeah, going
absolutely.
fast. Yeah.
As much as I've raced, you could not put me on a bike at some point going into turn one with
Oh
a
my
bunch of
gosh,
other bikes.
yeah.
I think those guys are crazy. I'm
They
sure people think we're
absolutely-
crazy.
Yeah.
But I say those guys are crazy because there's nothing protecting you.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. All right, this next article that you put in there, I read it twice, man. I did click on the link, and they were just talking about the Chinese market is unable to support local production. Like, did I miss the news? Was Porsche looking to produce in China, like build a factory and make?
Remember, it's their number one market.
Yeah.
So, and the way governments work, they want to keep the business. They give you incentives and whatnot to make the cars in their country.
Yeah.
Oh.
China more over the years than some other countries have, I think, forced, if you want to sell in China, then they
So how many,
incentivize.
can you, off the top of your head, how many locations does Porsche produce cars?
Oh, boy, that's a good question.
Because like I
Germany?
remember like obviously Germany, but then Finland.
Used to be. I don't think
I
they
don't
use
think they do it
element
in Finland
anymore.
anymore.
But they did though, right?
They did.
yes,
yeah.
the Boxster.
The
My
Boxster,
Cayman
yeah.
was built in
Yeah.
Finland, I believe.
which I believe, what I've read, is reliability, and it's probably just minuscule percentage was actually better in Finland.
In
Not
Finland.
surprising.
Yeah.
Huh.
Because my Boxster was made in Finland too.
Huh.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the one of the digits on the VIN number indicates
Yeah.
what country it was made in.
Yeah.
And so I looked mine up, and it was Finland.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
it's
Finlanders, they're like the northern Germans, sort of, right?
yeah, I'd have to look up to
Super
see
precise.
what parts of the cars or. I know everyone wants their 911s made in Stuttgart,
Yeah.
which I would imagine that'll be the case for a while. But you have a lot of the four doors that can,
Yeah.
be moved around. I
So in this
would
article,
like to think to keep it all in Germany.
so in this article, are they saying the investment to have a production facility in China wouldn't support
Well, right now
the
the
volume?
the Chinese market is in
retracting?
retracting.
Yeah.
They had 12%. The sales was 12% less than the year prior. So it's basically them saying we're not at that level yet. I think they said 100,000 cars sold. Maybe the tipping point where they can justify having a factory. So
Yeah, I just brought up a Porsche newsroom article from 2021, and I thought that they had mentioned where they would be building, and China was one place, but also in cooperation with Shell, Porsche will set up a small-scale local assembly in Malaysia to join the company's network of production sites. The vehicles will specifically match local requirements and will be available for Malaysia only. So I guess in certain markets, it sounds like Porsche is building factories where, cars...
Is that to come? Not already.
I don't know if
that.
that's happened because this was 2021. And I don't know. I never saw another news article after this.
That's what I was saying. Is when I read this article, I'm like, wait a minute, did I miss the
Well,
announcement?
they announce it and then they probably build it, and would you ever hear about it again? Maybe. But
Yeah.
in China, I wonder if it's the same thing. If your Porsche probably doesn't want to have cars that are being exported to non-Chinese markets to be
Yeah.
built in China. They probably want to keep that.
it'd be interesting
In
how
line.
many people would care. I don't know how many
Yeah.
BMW people care that their car may have never seen Germany,
Yeah.
only South Carolina.
Yeah.
I mean, my BMW's that way.
Yeah.
Right.
Doesn't bother me one bit. But some people, maybe if I had an M model,
Yeah.
I'd want it to be made in Munich. And
If it's
I think it means something to, especially to an enthusiast, but to the normal car purchaser, maybe not.
to me, it doesn't matter as long as it's built well, right? And
Yeah,
China
but
is known for
like-
building really good stuff
I mean,
nowadays.
not to say something negative, but like, so how I have, my son's Honda Fit, like that was built in Japan, and then my wife's 2022 Honda Civic Sport, I think that was built in Ohio. I can tell the difference in the build quality, and guess which one is better?
Not Ohio.
Yeah, unfortunately not. And I don't know why, because you would think Honda or whatever manufacturer would just instill the same quality no matter where they're building it, but there is a perceivable difference.
Yeah.
So
I think it's in your head.
no, I can show you some of the gaps on the car.
I think you watched that one movie from Michael Keaton too much.
Oh, that's the was it the
Was it in the 80s?
yeah
Gung Ho.
Gung
Thank you,
Ho.
Robert. Gung Ho. The story about what the Japanese come and they take a shuttered American car factory. They open it up. But
That's so funny.
They have to play
haven't
by their
thought-
rules.
I haven't thought about that movie in a long time.
I've
So-
never seen it.
So speaking of like retracting sort of markets and such, we've been reading a lot online about, especially in the US car makers, is and Toyota has mentioned how they're kind of leaning into and staying in the hybrid market. And so what are your thoughts on the whole EV market lately?
I still think it's the future, but obviously the infrastructure isn't there.
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing.
Yeah, I agree with Damon.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Yeah.
It's going to take some. It's not going to be a straight line to success, if you will, or the changeover. There'll be some detours along the way, but I think in the end, it will become.
What's your timeline?
Electric.
Like I can see electric vehicles and ICE and hybrids kind of being sold side by side, because if I lived like I have a perfect use for an EV car. Like where I live, I can pull up in my driveway, I can plug it in, and my commute is less than 30 miles a day. Like I'm really a good candidate for some people that live in apartments in the city, in the townhouse or whatever, and they can't plug in as easily. Like that's gonna be a while.
Let's compare it to music. We all had we grew up with CDs.
Rewind further, bro.
All right.
I had LPs.
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
LPs and
Mr.
cassettes.
49. So, but no one said, "Oh, you have to start downloading." We're not selling. You're not allowed to have
LPs or
DVDs or CDs or whatever.
Yeah.
You have to download it. No, it just suddenly became more convenient.
because
you said, "Wait a minute." Instead of me recording it onto on my computer and then transferring it to my iPod, I can just download the stuff from the Apple Store.
right.
I remember for me, I was like, "Oh my God, this is so simple."
Yeah.
And I'll just keep all the music, and I can transfer it anywhere on my computer. And then, like Spotify, Pandora came out,
Yeah.
and I thought, why even buy that? I just listen to this,
Right.
or pay my monthly service, and I can listen to the music I want. And I think electric cars are going to have to be the same way, where instead of forcing it, you just show that it is
convenient
to the consumer. It makes sense, and
yeah.
then the consumer decides, hey, this is the way I should go. But it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to CDs didn't happen overnight. I always tell the story. I was 18 when that transformation was taking place, and no one could believe records, LPs would disappear. But once they saw that the music sounded better, didn't have skips.
Yeah.
You could bring it to your car and everything.
Technology
took over.
advances, and hopefully when it becomes more convenient or as convenient as what it's replacing, that's when it's going to start to roll in. Like remember how happy, what was it, Redbox?
Yeah.
Redbox used to be the thing, right? You get the DVD movie in your mailbox, and you thought that was cool.
That was Netflix.
Oh,
Redbox
Netflix.
was when you're at the grocery store,
right.
you can rent.
Yeah,
right?
Netflix was cool because you didn't
Netflix was in the mail. Netflix I couldn't understand because I thought, but I can go to Redbox and get the movie right now. I don't have to wait 3 days in the mail for Netflix to deliver the movie.
But people had it in queue, like Netflix was coming
Yeah, I
to
don't
your
have
house
that kind
every
of
day. Yeah,
patience.
coming every day.
Netflix was good with
and then
you could find
Redbox
obscure
then
things.
came.
Yeah,
Because
Redbox.
then you thought, I can get a movie while I'm
Redbox
grocery
was
shopping.
perfect because you didn't have to wait for
Yeah.
Blockbuster to open, or
Right.
if it was closed, you couldn't get a movie. You could go any time of day or night and get a movie.
And then technology advanced, and you just stream everything. And now Redbox is
They still have a lot of work to do with charging. If you're going on a road trip, how long it takes to charge. And Electrify America is doing a horrendous job of maintaining their charging network.
Yeah,
That's where
I've heard
Tesla
that too.
reigns supreme. It'll be interesting to see how Tesla does. It's like VHS and beta. You know, it's going to be what happens is Tesla right now to me is so far ahead in their charging network and their range and whatnot.
Here's another one for you: depreciation. So as these electric cars get used up, and I think in most reports, like batteries up to 100,000 miles, they maintain like 90-95% of whatever their original life. But a lot of people keep cars to 150, let's say. If the next person is then having to replace that battery at $10,000 or $15,000, that's obviously got to negatively affect depreciation. Like how do you deal with that?
Right, it's going to become a phone. No one is lining up to buy a used iPhone 4, right?
I know. So I guess it's like you're buying.
So
your
the
thought process-
manufacturers are going to have to do something.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, a phone is one thing,
Yeah.
but a car is a different
Yeah.
thing altogether. When you're talking tens of thousands of dollars,
Exactly. And then you can't unload it because
Yeah.
people don't want to be caught, with the hot potato.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hard pill to swallow to find out that your Tesla Model 3 isn't worth anything, and
Yeah.
by the way, it's not current, so you should get a new one.
Yeah.
So I was recently texting with one of our occasional contributor to PCA.org, Tom Neal, and he ended up sending me a 2022 Ruby Star Taycan GTS Sport Turismo. Bought it for $183, and it I don't know if it's sold actually, but the high bid was $118.
What car was this?
A Ruby
Ty-
Star 2022 Taycan GTS Sport Turismo.
That's
183 MSRP.
Yeah,
The
and
highest bid was 118.
Did it sell or no sell?
Let's see here if it sold. Bid to, no, it didn't sell.
So it didn't sell.
So $118,000 is the highest somebody would pay on Bring a Trailer for a Ruby Star car.
That's a gorgeous car too. But having said
Ruby
that,
Star, bad color for resale, in my opinion.
it is
But
because I think it's a very polarizing color. Everybody loves the color, but do they want to rock it every day? Right?
Here's my thing. Does everybody love the color who actually bought a car in that color? I don't think so. I think that a lot of people bought it because it was sort of the in thing. And if they are planning on selling that car anytime soon, they might be sorely, disappointed about. I mean, I don't want a Ruby Star car. It's too loud.
I would love a Ruby Star car, but I'm kind of in the minority.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah,
polarizing. If you want a car that sells whenever,
Yeah.
go with a blue. Mexico blue, Riviera blue. Those always sell.
But what is it? Was it the Ruby Star or the fact that it's an electric car that basically 3,800 miles, brand new, and a $60,000 discount?
I think it's the color.
Yeah,
I think it's the color, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people.
Yeah,
They can't see themselves in that. Let's see. Let's get into events. As you listen to this, we will have wrapped up Unstock in Vista, California on November 12th. We have, how many, 135? How many cars do we have total?
About 160 maybe.
Oh, 160. Okay. Very good. So obviously we will be doing some social media and capturing photos and videos of the event, and we look forward to sharing that with you. We have Treffin at Sea coming up December 9th. If you're considering it, there's a very good deal on inside rooms that it's almost, it's so inexpensive. I think it's like $800.
How much time do you spend on that balcony?
That's what I'm getting at. One is you spend,
Because I never see anybody on the balcony when I look at the ship.
No. You open the door, you might look at it once, and you're not even in the room all that much. You're out doing everything else. So, to rewind, $800 for an inside cabin. That includes pretty much everything that you do for from the 9th to the 16th. Food, tip, Wi-Fi, everything. It's an amazing
deal. Do you get the drink package?
It includes the drink package, but it doesn't.
You know how many drinks that includes per day?
There is a cap. I do know.
A cap?
There is a cap of
I hope
drinks.
so.
Yeah.
I looked it up. I think it's 16 drinks a day.
It is. Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
That's it.
perfect.
16 drinks a day.
Perfect.
I was gonna say there's a cap.
I said if I'm awake 16 hours, that means from the morning hour I wake up,
A drink an
it's
hour.
like a marathon, a drink an hour.
Yes, I
I'm
remember
pretty
that
sure
there
I
was
don't
a
have
cap, but
16 drinks in a year.
I chuckled when I heard the cap because I was like, I will never.
I was talking to Laura, our office manager. I'm like, can you do 16 drinks, but not just one day?
Yeah,
It's every day you're there.
every day you're there. Yeah, exactly.
When you get
So
off the
d- so
truck,
did that change
get
your
off
mind?
the boat. Here's a
Will you join us?
AA,
Yeah.
No, they take such good care of us, and I'm looking forward. We have
do you weigh yourself before you get on the boat? And weigh
no,
yourself
heck
after?
no. Are you crazy? No. But I am looking forward to it.
So the food is you just go to any restaurant and you eat anything you want?
So we have 2 formal dinners, but then there's also like a galley where you can go and get food.
When you say we
anytime.
have 2, does that mean PCA or the ship?
PCA has its own like 2 formal nights, and then they have just the regular.
Are they as long as the Concord dinner at Parade?
No, they're a little bit shorter, a little bit shorter. But then the food's amazing and the staff's amazing. So again, hopefully I'll see you there if you're one of the 800 people that are coming. Oh, we just sent out the not the applications, but the registration form for the diecast Concours at Sea, and we're hoping to get, I think, close to 200 cars to be judged.
So I've heard from some people who are going that there's going to be some serious machinery there.
There is. Oh
Like,
yeah, last year there was. So
To the point where you think the nicest diecast car that you own right now could win. I don't know about that. People are going all out.
Last year, people built their own car.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can win, because otherwise you're just buying something and opening it out of the box.
There's 3 different classes, and maybe you bring something that is super unique, even though you bought it. 'Cause
I've heard of custom made.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Die-cast models.
Last year, someone custom built one that looks like the car that Princess Cruise gave away.
Oh wow.
They custom built a Taycan that looked just like the car they gave away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then people did the whole like the Porsche, like, you know, on track and like all these things. It's an amazing Concours, even though
Yeah.
it's 1/18 scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, so looking
Very
forward
cool.
to that. Also want to give a shout out to those of you that may be interested in or would like to know more about PCA Sim Racing. If you go to PCASimRacing.com, you can check out the various races that they have. They also have the schedule for the upcoming races. And if you haven't watched one of these broadcasts, now PCA has professionals that cover these races, and if I didn't tell you and you were just watching the YouTube broadcast, you would think it's so realistic. And what I love is the people that call the racers actually know the individuals that are in the cars, because they too race the people that call these, and they know like how the drivers are set up, and it's a lot of fun, especially as we get into the winter months and we're not behind the wheel of our 1-to-1 Porsche. Check out PCA Sim Racing.
Do they have a Telemundo version where you can watch it in Spanish?
I haven't checked.
Because I highly encourage anyone. I came across so the last F1 race, there was an incredible battle for a third place between Checo Perez and Fernando Alonso, and it was like the last 2 laps. It was just incredible that
The U.S. broadcast was like, "Oh, that was a nice
very,
pass."
very polite. The Spanish broadcast,
Was
it's
crazy.
like watching the World Cup in Spanish.
Oh.
It was like they were watching a whole different race.
I've gotta
You would hear
look that
"Mamma
up.
Mia." And,
Yeah.
it was. I was showing everyone when we were having lunch today. That last lap and a half, and it was just hilarious to hear the Spanish broadcast. I told him, I said, "Now, I understand what they're saying, but you're not going. You're going to hear some words."
Yeah.
But they're very, very animated.
Very
so you
emotional.
get look it on YouTube. It's hilarious watching.
That was an
the
impressive
Spanish,
pass. That was a lot of fun to watch,
Spanish
actually.
language. So I think we should get that for sim racing too. Spanish language.
You could do it. You could call it in Spanish.
I could not speak as fast as these announcers were.
All right. Well, we are at the top of the hour. Thank you for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and own a Porsche, grab that VIN, head over to PCA.org, and for $46, you too can become a member. If you don't have your Porsche, we have the test drive program. Again, head over to PCA.org, and we'll provide you some resources so that you can find that special Porsche to land on your driveway. Remember to follow our podcast Instagram page, behind the scenes photos, videos, Porsche Club Insider, all one word. You can send us a message or email at podcast@pca.org. Again, we have these decals now. If you'd like a set, just drop a note in the comments. We'll connect with you, or send us a note at podcast@pca.org and we'll send you a set. And again, like I said, the three of us, we as we go to different events the rest of the year as well as into next year, we'll kind of keep these in our pockets. So if you're interested in grabbing them when you see us, we'd love to give them to you. So with that, until next time, stay safe and we'll catch you down the road.